All right, gang, Roy Free Sr. back today, and I wanted to talk about what I'm going to call the rib cage building controversy. You don't see many videos or hear much talk or read articles these days about doing exercises to expand your rib cage. So decades ago, this was a very popular topic in the muscle magazines and even in online forums and such. The latest science has debunked the idea by stating that bones don't really grow once one reaches about 23 years of age. While it's not usually a good idea to argue against science, what if there is something being overlooked? According to Paul Kelso in his Shrug book from about 20 years ago, Joseph Heisey believed that the rib cage could be expanded even in adults, but not by causing your actual rib bones to get bigger. While never scientifically documented, his thoughts were that there is costal cartilage connected to the rib cage and small inspiratory muscles that are involved in breathing, especially very deep breathing. The exercises Heisey used for this were his own invention known as the Heisey Shrug, 20 rep breathing squats, and breathing pullovers. He claimed a 29-pound solid weight gain in a month after employing a program focused on these movements, along with a few other compound heavy exercises like military presses, rows, and the like. Peary Rader also strongly believed in these methods and threw in his own chest expander with the Rader chest pull. In his Shrug book, Kelso explained that in order to be effective for rib cage building, pullover should be done with lightweight, with straight arms, and focusing on heavy breathing on each rep. Doing heavy weight across the bench with bent arms is a good move, but it's more for building lats, triceps, and pecs than dependent on your style and your range of motion, etc. But not really for expanding the rib cage. He suggested lying on the bench lengthwise, not across it. And he's not the only one who makes those suggestions. You could even put your feet up if desired, and I typically do this. Kelso claims to have made gains in his chest girth through these exercises and talks about the need for this beyond just pumping up the pecs themselves. As it turns out, the two exercises I've been using as a warm-up for my push days are potentially ribcage expanding moves, except I don't really focus on breathing too much. I do use lightweight and high reps and straight arms. I typically do a superset with straight arm pullovers and then straight arm flies. So maybe I could tweak my workout a little bit by just adding some heavy breathing to those things and see what it does. So what this suggests to me is that there is some low-hanging fruit there. Again, all I got to do is throw in some heavy breathing. It's going to take me a little longer to do the workout, but not that much. So I think I'm going to try this. It also occurs to me that my practicing HIIT lately and doing leg presses instead of squats as my primary big leg movement, I've been doing the higher rep suggestion for these, as suggested by Menser in his earlier version of his program, where he would talk about doing up to 15 or 20 reps on either squats or leg presses. I typically do 20 reps, but similar to the 20 rep breathing squats as suggested by these guys, I get my 20 reps, but I have to stop 3 or 4 times in between and take some deep breaths just to be able to continue the set and to get to 20. I'll do maybe 10 or 12 in really good, slow eccentric HIIT style, and at that point I just have to stop. And of course I'm stopping with the weight with my legs fully extended, and I typically don't lock out, so there's still some tension on my legs always. I I also am interested in that Raider chest pull, and still not really 100% sure about the form for that. I have to experiment with that. I've watched a couple videos. Everybody seems to have their own kind of little take on that. So something I need to work on and just see if I can get the feel. But again, that's something you would do after your heavy breathing squats, breathing leg presses. Kelso even talks about doing breathing deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts in particular. And I do prefer deadlifts over any leg work, honestly. It's always been one of my favorite moves. And I've always thought the old school guys like Grimmick and Park must have been doing something to expand their rib cages, and I'm going to show in this video a whole bunch of guys with that big rib cages. So is it genetics, or is it their training, or is it both? I really don't see that the whole thing is some kind of hoax or myth, really. Here's a quote from Dennis Weiss, another old school writer, about the subject. For those of you following this program and desiring to develop a larger chest circumference, I offer you this suggestion. The only answer for a flat chest is breathing squats, at least 20 reps a set, with plenty of huffing and puffing between reps, holding the chest full of air while you go down, exhaling on the way up, making yourself completely breathless when you do them. Immediately after your set of squats, while still puffing, do light, straight arm pullovers, no more than a 20-pound bar or dumbbell, because anything heavier will restrict your rib cage expansion. Do these about 20 reps also, stretching the rib cage all you can. You will feel an ache in the sternum if you do these two exercises properly, because the chest box and cartilage are stretching, end quote. And here's another thought. 20 rep breathing squats are a form of rest pause training, and may well have been the first exercise using this concept, which has since been expanded and used on many others. What is a rest pause? Exactly what it sounds like. Rather than terminating a given set when one reached failure, you could pause, take a brief rest while sucking in some big breaths, and then you resume the set. Myo-reps, as espoused by Mike Israetel of Renaissance Periodization fame on YouTube, are also similar, except in this version you do a certain number of reps on a given exercise for your first work set, and then you stop. You rest briefly, and it's suggested somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. You start a new set. The object is to get the same number of reps on set 2, even if you need to stop and rest for 10 or 15 seconds, once, twice, however many times it takes for you to get the same number of reps that you did that first time. The weight remains the same for all sets, as opposed to that other method known as drop sets, which are more like supersets or giant sets, but dropping the weight in between the sets. During drop sets, it is clear that some heavy breathing will occur, and perhaps this is part of the benefit of them. Well, I'm going to cut off here and let you decide what you think about the whole rib cage building scenario. Was it BS? Is it legit? Maybe try it for yourself, some of these things, and see if they work for you. And we're going to call it at that. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned for more. Please consider subscribing. Thanks again, and I'm out.